Hey, I'm so glad you're watching this. I'm excited to share 5 truths I've learned about growing healthy things and how raising a garden can help you lead people and manage teams. Whether you lead one person or 100, you need these 5 truths in order to succeed. I've been growing a garden for the past 5 years, and I've been leading people for over 15 years. And what I realized is that there are a lot of parallels between gardening and managing a team of people that I wanted to share with you. People are kind of like seeds. They eventually grow into plants, and as they grow, they can either grow and flourish, or they will wilt and fail to produce fruit. You can also apply what I'm going to talk about today to leading a project if you're not managing people, or even parenting as you lead your family. Hi, I'm John, and I lead New Culture, where I help provide resources to help businesses and nonprofits grow. Hit that subscribe button to be notified for more content that we produce. Now, let's get this out in the open right away. Number 1, you can't make anything grow. When I first went into gardening, I had a lot of ambitions and dreams. We were going to grow enough food to feed our entire family. We were going to start our seedlings out perfectly. We had scoped out the right location. It had just enough light. We even mapped it out on Google Maps to make sure the light was going to hit just right. The list goes on and on. But as we got into it, I realized pretty quickly that I wasn't actually making anything grow. Not one thing. I could try harder, but it honestly wouldn't have made a difference. And this is what I realized about a year in. My job was to create an environment where seeds could become what they were made to be. And what I've realized that matters most is the environment in which the seed is planted. Now, think with me. This is the culture, if you will. It could be the culture of your team, the department you lead, or the entire organization. And what I learned from gardening is that rich, dark, nutrient-dense soil will go on to produce much more fruit than dry, bland clay. And so if my plants weren't doing well, 9 times out of 10, it was because my soil was barren. And so if your plants don't have the right amount of light or exposure to the sun, they will not produce fruit. And so if you aren't watering enough or often enough, then your plants will stall out and die. And here's the thing, as leaders, the same is true for the teams that we cultivate. It's up to us as leaders to create the right environment for people and the projects that we manage to flourish. So here are a few questions to ask yourself. Does your team understand the vision of where you're going? This is your why. They have to know this. Do they have the right tools and resources to do what you're asking them to do? Do they have enough time and margin to accomplish what's being requested in the right amount of time without stressing them out? Do they have the right information in order to make proper decisions? Are they a match with the role that is suited for their unique skills and competence? The list goes on and on. But remember, your job as a leader is to cultivate the environment where seeds can become what they were made to be. This takes us to point number 2. You have to remove weeds early and often. You have to constantly pull weeds. For 2 years in a row, my kids have thrown birdseed into our freshly tilled soil. It was infuriating. But guess what happened? These seeds grew. They started to crowd out the actual plants that I wanted. And if you're not careful, if you're not weeding early and often, these weeds will take over. I guarantee it. It's much easier to pull a weed when it's small. When it's small, it's no big deal. But if you wait just 2 weeks, you're dealing with 10 times the problem. For example, if you let grass grow up around leaks and I try to pull the grass up, it will uproot the leak. So if you see an issue in your team, you have to deal with it immediately, as soon as possible. Look at this picture over here on the left. This was supposed to be a nice flower bed, but unfortunately, I didn't get to weeding the grass that started to grow from the seed that my kids threw into the garden. And so it was much harder to uproot that grass after it had been growing for 2 to 3 weeks. This takes us to number 3. You will attract pests and pollinators. From Japanese beetles, grubs, and caterpillars, to deer, moles, and squirrels, there are a lot of things that will try to steal your harvest. Now, most of these pests are just looking for a meal. They just want to be fed, but they can cause tremendous damage either way. As an example, this is a recent example actually. A deer ate all of the flowers and leaves off of 10 cucumber plants. And it didn't stop there. They ate 14 French melon plants right as they were fruiting. They ate all of the blackberry plants, the blueberry bushes. It was so frustrating. We built a fence, we planted marigolds, we did crazy things like spreading Irish Spring soap. Eventually, after the deer came, squirrels later came, and they ate holes in about 10 of our nearly ripened French melons and watermelons. It was insane. Now, on the other hand, pollinators are essential to growth. The flowers attract them. When we say pollinators, we're talking about bees and butterflies. They feed off the nectar of flowers. And as they feed, they help pollinate the flowers of the plants. And without them, this is important, the flowers would never turn into fruit or vegetables. And so here's the goal for you as a leader. Bringing in the right person to your team can either cause exponential growth or exponential pain. And it's up to you to have the right guardrails in place that will help you bring in the good while leaving out the negative. Now, here's a bonus tip. There are lots of things that will try to steal your harvest. Sometimes it's easier to just grow more than to keep everyone out. Now, this is called having an abundance mindset. You can go the other route where you're trying to prevent every single possible negative thing from happening, but it's much easier to start with an abundance mindset. This takes us to number 4. Difficulty is required to sustain growth. Now, you might think that you would want to shield these little seedlings from harsh conditions, but it turns out this is exactly what they need to grow strong. We started out by growing seedlings in a greenhouse in a spare room inside of our home, but you can't just plant those seedlings outside or they'll die. They literally will die. They have to acclimate to the hot sun. They have to acclimate to the lack of water during the day and so much more. And what happens is that this difficulty causes the seedlings to put down strong roots. When the wind blows, it causes the roots to grow wider so that the plant's root system can support the winds of everyday life. And this is important because without this, the plants will topple over immediately. Without some dry spells, the plants won't grow an extensive root system to help them find the water that they need. They either won't thrive or maybe they'll grow, but they're not going to produce much fruit. In fact, the plants that had the most restrictions had the best root system and grew the best fruit. So, as a leader, what might you need to do to keep your teams in a healthy level of difficulty? Don't solve all the problems for them. Let them flounder within reason so that they can start to figure things out for themselves. As an example, one year, you can go overboard on this. We left our greenhouse on a deck one spring, and without realizing it, this huge gust of wind knocked it over. Not once, but twice. We learned a lesson here that sometimes you can go overboard. So it's important that you find the right amount of balance. Give the people that you lead a chance to intentionally grow and develop. And I promise you that over time, the end result will be a stronger team and healthier fruit. This takes us to the 5th and final truth. And this feels obvious, but it's totally worth saying. None of what I talked about matters if you don't plant the seed. You've got to plant that seed in the ground. I put off growing things for the longest time because I didn't have experience. I wasn't a gardener, and every season that I waited was a season where I produced 0 fruit. As we lead our teams, it's often up to us. Plant the seeds that are needed to grow our people, the people in our care, or perhaps even our products. So here's my question for you. What seeds do you need to plant with your team? What's preventing you from starting? You need to start today. Put that seed in the ground. Start cultivating the environment that's necessary. So I wanted to leave you with this. This is where we started 5 years ago. We started with a vision. We tilled some soil. We wanted to grow a garden. We wanted to grow enough produce for our family for an entire year, but we had to start somewhere. And so 3 years and many iterations later, we were starting to see the growth. And finally, it's not without some chaos involved. This happened one year where we were out of town for a few weeks. We didn't have anyone to look after the garden. Sometimes in the midst of growth, you're going to have a healthy dose of chaos. And the best thing that you can do is learn to be comfortable with it. So let's recap. Number one, you can't make anything grow. Number two, remove weeds early and often. Number three, you will attract pests and pollinators. Number four, difficulty is required to sustain growth. And number five, if you never plant the seed, you will never reap the harvest. And so as we close, don't forget your job as a leader is to cultivate the environment where seeds can become what they were made to be. If you like this video or if something stood out, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be the first to know about new content that we release. I hope you have a great week leading your team and growing healthy things. You've got this.